Hi, I'm Jessica Conrad, one of the specialists with the Patents Project, and today we're going to be doing a webinar on one of my favorite sessions. This is Access for All Young Learners, Tips, Tricks, and Hacks. I always start with an accessibility promise. I'm committing to making this presentation and its related materials as accessible as possible, and I do this by following the principles of universal design for learning. A few of the things used today are closed captions, which can be activated by a button at the bottom of your screen. Simple backgrounds with high contrast real font, digital materials provided for your own use, and shortened links, QR codes, and hyperlinks embedded throughout the materials. There are multiple opportunities for specific follow-up support if you're one of our Indiana Pre-K-12 public school staff members. Our AAC consultation process in particular is a formal process, and I've added the link to the screen. That's tinyurl.com/PatinsAAC. That's PATINSAAC. If you have any issues accessing my training in any way, please contact me by email at jconrad@patinsproject.org. Some relevant disclosures about me. I am a patent specialist and licensed speech-language pathologist. I'm a member of ASHA-SIG 12 and president of the Indiana subdivision for the Division of Early Childhood of the Council for Exceptional Children. I've embedded links to the DEC recommended practices and the Early Childhood Technical Assistance Center. Patents is committed to providing and leveraging those best practices for all students, and many of the resources that you're going to see align with those recommended practices, in particular the recommended practices around environment. Patents is still promoting achievement through technology and instruction for all students. We are committed to supporting our Indiana public schools in creating and sustaining an equitable learning environment for every student. Our agenda today, and welcome to everyone in the live recording. Thank you so much for letting us record you today. The Price Ain't Right. This is one of my favorite games to play. We are going to be covering a lot of new items in the lending library, some tried and true favorites, ideas and alternatives, and things we can't believe people pay for. The items that were selected were the most requested, particularly around our students who are early learning in preschool and very early elementary. At the end of this, you will be asked to give an evaluation. So one of the most frequently asked questions, will we get the slides? Yes, you will. Whether you are participating live right now or you are watching this recording, you just need to fill out the evaluation. And for those of you who are watching the recording, you also need to email me. So again, that email right over here, you need to fill out the evaluation at the end and email me, and I'll be happy to send you those slides and resources. So this is a visual representation of the Every Student Succeeds Act. So if this is the visual representation of what every single student in Indiana should be getting, excellent instruction, appropriate assessment, a robust curriculum, collaboration among the entire team, I love that this is hugged both inside and out by access and universal design for learning. And a lot of the tools and techniques we're going to talk about today can be used both in a classroom, at home, whether that's hybrid instruction, virtual, or in person. So I wanted to make sure that I embedded a lot of resources that could be used in a variety of environments with the most widest variety of students that you have in your classrooms. Again, thinking about access and universal design for learning, hugging every piece of that puzzle that you see. So the price ain't right for those of you who are participating live. There will be one fabulous grand prize. Even for the folks at home, we have a grand prize. There's an honor system for scoring. Don't worry about it. Don't cheat and look up prices, but if you have a steal, please brag and share. I love hearing from folks. If there is something that I showed that you know how to get cheaper or you use a little differently, please pop that in the chat box. I love to hear about it. So again, grand prize at the end, but don't expect too much. We're on a budget. So our first question is, we want to know, Patents has a lending library that is accessible for all of our Indiana pre-K-12 public education folks, and we charge a flat rate for shipping to and from any school in Indiana. So we've been doing this for a few years. We only charge one flat rate. I want you to, first in the chat box, if you would pop in what number you think that is. And for those of you who are participating live, so pop that in the chat box. And then if you could find in your Zoom settings, under participants, there's a nonverbal feedback tool. So on any device, if you find that participants button and you get that participants list, there will be a list of folks. And then down at the bottom is that little toolbar that you're going to see. And I would love for you to give me a thumbs up, thumbs down if you think it's higher or lower than a price that I picked from the chat box. So, ooh, I already see some suggestions. I see $5, $0, $10, $10, $5. Let's go with $5. What do you guys think? Do you think Patents charges more or less than $5 to shipping there and shipping back of any item in our lending library? What do you think? Oh, I see more, less, more, less. You guys said less, and you would be right. You would be right. Hooray! It's $0 always for our Indiana Public Pre-K-12 folks. So you get that 6-week loan and you can renew for another 6 weeks if there's no one on the waiting list. Again, we only ship to Indiana Public Schools. So if you have a student who is homebound or you're in a virtual learning situation, we ship to your school building, and then your school can arrange for that to go home, and the school district is still responsible for making sure that gets back to us in a timely manner. You can also borrow just iPad apps. So you can certainly borrow iPads that are loaded with apps, but let's say you already have an iPad or the family already has an iPad or iPhone, you can borrow just the apps. This is a really nice setup. It kind of works like borrowing from Hoopla or some type of audiobook situation from your public school or your public library. We add some software to that iPad, and then the app shows up, and then after 6 weeks it disappears, and it gives you the opportunity to find out, you know, even some of these very expensive $300-400 AAC apps, you can borrow, try out, find out if it works for the kids. So we are very happy to provide that solution. All right, I'm going to take all of your thumbs up and thumbs down away because we have our next item up on the board. So I go through special education catalogs and make sure I am up to date. I saw this and caught my eye. This is an eye gaze board. It's made out of clear plastic acrylic, and it has a little wooden stand, so clear so that you can be on the other side of the student and see where their eyes are going to make a choice. So if that student was looking over here, they would be wanting a pencil, and if they were looking over here, they're wanting a pumpkin or something like that. So we have the clear acrylic with a hole in the middle and a little bit of wood. It's unclear if the chip clip comes with it. So they might be throwing in the chip clip or not. I really don't know. And the pictures do not come with it. You have to bring your own pictures, and you can use your own pictures. How much do you think this retails at? Not even including shipping. How much do you think this retails at? I see $50, $28, $70. $72. Let's go with $72. So $72. What do you think? Is this going to be more or less? More or less than $72. See, less, more, less. Most of you are thinking it is less. Would you be surprised if it's $119? Oh, that is expensive. And I think this is one of those things that nobody should be spending that much money for a piece of acrylic and wood, and you don't even know if they're going to throw in the chip clip. So what can you do instead? There are so many wonderful options out there. Our suggestion, you shouldn't be spending more than, $10 to get good quality eye gaze solutions that don't involve a dynamic display. So one of my favorite options is that picture up at the top. The lady is using a baseball card holder. I think this is ingenious because you can slip your own pictures in there, and you have multiple pages that all stay together. So you have one page for how you feeling today, another page for I'm in pain, another page for what do you want to eat, and they're all stuck together, and you have a hole in the center for you to look at. I added, I'm not going to show this video, but when you get the slides, you'll have access to this video from my colleague David Jackson, who shows you how to make various things out of PVC pipe. Again, not very expensive, pretty easy to whip up. If you can measure something and use something that kind of looks like scissors, you can definitely put together one of these PVC frames. And what I love about the PVC frame that he shows off is it tilts, and our students are in all sorts of positions, and I would love to have one that still works if they're laying or lounging or sitting. So really nice setup. Again, not very expensive. The other one that I really like is this senteacher.org. This is one of my favorites if we're talking about how do I get the visuals when maybe I don't have a license or a sign-in or a login to some of these expensive visual makers. senteacher.org, you don't need an account to use it, and it works great on a phone. So I'm going to go over here to printables, communication printables. I have a lot of options here. I can do some photo cards, some picture exchange cards, and I can make these bigger or smaller and change the pictures. But here is their eye gaze frame. So this one is already set up to be an alternative pencil. If you've been to any of our trainings on emergent writing, you know all about alternative pencils. I'm going to bring up the one for drinks. And let's say I have a student that wouldn't be drinking apple juice. Instead, they want coffee. I have a bunch of symbol libraries to choose from. I like this image. I'm going to save it, and it puts it in there automatically. When I go to print it, again, I can print in black and white or color, and it prints double-sided, the side for my student to see and the side for me to see, and the images will flip correctly so that I know what it is that my student is looking at. Again, that senteacher.org has a ton of pre-made setups and pages for parents to be able to browse and create ones that make sense for their student, and you can create sets and send them as a PDF so they can be printed on the fly. So I absolutely love that setup. All right, our next one, hook and loop. In preschool, we love hook and loop, otherwise known the brand name Velcro. So these are off-brand, they're not Velcro brand. Adhesive white coins. I personally love the ones that already have the adhesive attached to it. And these are pre-cut out half-inch sets, so 1,400 sets. 2,800 individual coins, half of them being the soft side, half of them being the hard side. And how much do you think that much pre-cut adhesive Velcro is going to run? How much would you think? I see $60, $40, $50, $51. You guys are good. Let's go with $50. $50. Do you guys think you are spending more or less for 1,400 sets of hook and loop Velcro? See, more. Most of you are paying more. Let's see. Oh, you would be wrong, thank goodness. I love sharing this one. So I was paying more for sure, but it was actually a session. Probably a couple years ago I was showing this, and so a teacher stopped me and she was like, Jessica, you are paying way too much for Velcro. This is where I buy mine. This is Finer Supply. They have lots of different types of Velcro, lots of different sizes. The one thing that they don't have, that at least I haven't seen the last time I was looking, was the clear Velcro. I know some of you really like the clear kind. I do too. So they have white and black that I saw. So enough for 1,400 sets, $32 plus shipping. Very, very reasonable. Could it get any better than $32 for that much hook and loop? And I think it does. With our friend Aileen's Tack It Over and Over. This is liquid glue. I refer to it as Velcro in a bottle. So it has to be the green kind. I don't know if this is going to show up well. So this is my bottle. I've had this for several years now and it still works great. What you do is you take old sticker sheets, all the stickers are gone like this, and you make little glue dots. and let it dry overnight, and you can use and reuse it. So I use these for little googly eyes that I like to put around the house and annoy my husband with by putting googly eyes on stuff. And it kind of feels like, you know, when you get a new credit card and has that sticky stuff on the back, it's kind of like that, right? Except you can reuse it over and over again. I don't find for something like, let's say, a visual schedule we're using 50 times a day, probably not the best solution. However, if you have a student who is sensory adverse to that sound or that feeling of traditional hook and loop, this might be a good option. It sticks really well if you have those really awful walls, that the concrete blocks that nothing sticks to, these will stick to it. And you can make all sorts of shapes and sizes. It just works really, really well. I love it especially for things like adding visual supports and manipulatives into my books. I hate using the Velcro, is just too bulky. This is really nicely low profile, and no real concerns about students getting into it, and if they lose it, who cares? You can make a dozen more with a few pennies. So Aleen's tack it over and over, has to be tack it over and over, has to be in the green bottle, and a jar will last you several years. All right, our next one is called Can It Get Any More Expensive? Can it get any more expensive? So our first one is a battery operated train. I have it with me here. So this is my train, and it lights up, it makes sound. Let's see if I can. So really fun, and it's also a bubble maker as well as has a bump and go technology. So this is one of those that if it bumps the wall, then it will back up a little bit and turn, so it just keeps going. I love that feature in a toy. So this one retails just by itself $16. I think that's a pretty good deal for this little toy. However, if I add just this little part right here, I'm going to make myself bigger so you can see just this little part, just this little tail with this little thing right there. That means that it is now switch accessible. So that is our question. How much more is it going to cost just because I took this $16 toy and made it switch accessible? How much more is it going to be? What do you guys think? I see $40, $100. Oh my gosh. $80, $90. Let's go with $90. What do you guys think? More or less? An additional $90 to add that little piece of wire and that little thing at the end that is essentially a headphone jack. How much more in making the headphone jack actually work? How much more? You guys are mostly saying more, 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 more. Do you think it's more? Oh, thank goodness it's not $70, right? So, thank goodness it's only $23 extra. I was able to get this toy for under $50, which is a big deal. I mean, a lot of you knew right off the bat, Switch toys are expensive. This one probably being a pretty good value. Oh, I see Jill says that she has that same toy in her class. Do you like it, Jill? Is it working out well for you? I've heard good things from other classrooms. So what we suggest, certainly Switch toys have some really cool functions, but something to consider are these battery interrupters. So this battery interrupter, I should point to the right way, this battery interrupter has a little piece on it that sits between the battery and the device, and then gives you that tail and that headphone jack, and it works really well on types of toys or things that really, they operate really simply. Either they're on or they're off. So wind machines, bubble makers, what else? You know, simple toys where there's just an on switch or I squeeze something and it's on, that sort of thing. This can work really, really well, and you can make your own. The website I put up there, atmakers.org, has a lot of great resources and videos to show you how you can make your own Switch toys, and we have specialists on staff who would love to work with you on that if that's something of an interest. So those battery interrupters, again, $13 for you have to buy one for a AA and a different one for D batteries. So you have to play around with that, but you can reuse it over and over with lots of different toys. All right, our next option is hook fabric book. So it doesn't have any pages, it's just something that folds up, but it has that hook fabric, that soft side in it, and it has a little handle when you close it up. No pages, just folds, and has a handle. How much do you think this thing is running for in the special education catalog? I see $50, $70, $120. Let's say $10, $20. Let's go with $20. What do you guys think? More or less than $20? See, more. Almost everyone says more than $20. And you would be right, $34 for a little bit of hook fabric in the book. So I have a different question before I show you the option. I'm really curious. I'm going to clear out the screen. I would love to know from you guys, do you do hook on the book or soft side on the book? So the soft side being the loop side, or do you have the rough side on the book? I think everyone's a little different. So tell me, let me rephrase this question. Do you have the manipulative? The manipulative part, does that have the hard stuff or the soft stuff? Hard stuff, soft stuff, hard stuff. Use the 3M interlock. I love the 3M interlock. So if you guys aren't familiar with that product, it is a product where it doesn't matter which side, like both sides are the correct side, so you don't run out of one versus the other. And if you keep the hard side of your hook and loop, it will also interact. It's a little more pricey. That's part of the reason why I didn't make it into this presentation. It is a more pricey than your traditional hook and loop, but it's a product by 3M, and I also like the fact that you can clean it. So if your soft side gets all gunky, seems like most people use the hard side on the part that's manipulative, but everyone's a little different. I'm always curious about that. So if you're not going to buy this $34 book, what else can you do? So there's a lot of options out there. What I suggest is indoor-outdoor carpet. I'm a really big fan of this. Before, I used to use the car liner. You could get it at pretty much any fabric store and buy it by the yard. I really struggled with it because I had to make sure that I had the right scissors, and gluing it was always tricky. It would wrinkle up on me. Just would fuzz and stuff like that. I just didn't really like it. And someone suggested this to me, and I really, really liked it because I could use, my big heavy duty scissors. I could use hot glue on it, stick it to our bulletin board, lots of things that we could do with it, and really cheap for a 7-foot by 6-foot piece of indoor-outdoor carpet for $18. It lasted us all year, and we were able to do all sorts of things with it. It was really easy to clean. So this was my favorite for sure. So my tip to you, when you go to the place that sells your indoor-outdoor carpet, bring a bit of the Velcro that you're going to use, so that hook side, and go up to all of the carpet and make sure that some are going to stick better than others. So make sure that you get the right type. All right. So this one's a little different. We got Bot and Code & Go mouse. These are both items in our lending library. They're both awesome, and they both operate about the same way. So we have Bot over here. He is just this thing by himself. He's pretty hefty for what he is. He's about this big. And the top of him has little directions that you can code him and tell him where to go forward, back, side to side. And then over to this side, we have our Code & Go mouse, and it comes with lots of pieces. So he comes with a little maze and things to go under, little directions and visual support cards. And so I'm wondering, what do you think, which one is going to cost more? Oh, you guys are quick. I see, we are split almost evenly. Would you be surprised that it was Bot is more expensive and Code & Go mouse is cheaper. And last time I checked, as of right now, he's on sale for $37. It's definitely worth checking to see if he is that cheap, for those of you who are watching the recording. So don't entirely know why Bot is so much more expensive than Code & Go mouse. I think they operate very, very similarly. Bot comes in a lot of varieties. The one that we have is pretty standard, just batteries in it. There are ones that are Bluetooth enabled, and there's ones that come in giant sets for a classroom. Very fun and interesting, and certainly worth exploring. One of the things that we would love for you to consider, besides borrowing one of these two robots, is our Bot Emulator. So the Bot Emulator, you don't need anything fancy with this one. It comes with a setup where you can create different alphabet maps. I'm going to change this on you, although you can't see my mouse, so I have different mats. I can't create my mat on the emulator. I just have to live with the ones that they give me, but in early childhood, lots of really good ones. And if I want to set him up, this is what the top of the actual Bot looks like. So this is a really fun activity for students who are virtual or hybrid situations, where I can say go forward, turn, go forward. And we can talk about where he's going. For those of you who either attended or watched the Games at a Distance, you see me talk about how I use this a lot in gameplay. So lots of options, as well as Bot for Android and iOS. Very similar situation, except you're going through different levels. So our next item is the Custom Easy button. This one records and re-records a 10-second message. It's great for communication, games, oral directions, so you can set it on the table, you record it, you set it on the table, and maybe that's the directions for that station, or it might be the student can hit the button and then it will say good morning, or I want that, or yes, or whatever it is that you want to work on. So this is 10 seconds of recording, and you can only record one message at a time. So once you're done with that message, you just re-record right on top of that. How much do you think it is for one of these Custom Easy buttons? See, 30, 20, 35, 20, 15. Let's go with $20. $20, more or less. See, most of you, you got opinions. You guys think it's more. Let's take a look. It is less. Hooray! I'm really excited by this, that it is not so expensive. So for $12, you can have a single meaning message communication device. You know, certainly there are more that are more expensive, and we'll talk about that in a second. So for $11, and I've seen on you know, certain websites you can buy packs of them to make them even cheaper. I would say if anyone's using these and you like them, please let me know. One of the comments that I've had is these are really useful, super flexible, I can do lots of things with it, but there's certainly a trade-off. They aren't super durable, so the plastic that they're made out of, they crack easily. However, in a busy classroom, maybe that's not such a big deal if you have two others that can substitute it out really quickly. We have a lot of these types of single meaning messages and meaning message devices, and certainly the ones that are more expensive are worth considering. So I am going to, so the two that I have up here, the first one that I have in my hand is the Smooth Talker. The other one is a step-by-step. It's one of the competitors. There's lots of them on the market and they all have their own features. I'm going to focus on the step-by-step for a second. So this is my step-by-step. It has 6 different functions. So I can make this set up. So I can record 7 or 8 different messages and set it up so that I can go through and maybe I just want to say one message. Maybe I want to say them in a sequence, like maybe telling a story or saying the Pledge of Allegiance or participating in a play. I can set this up so it's random, more like dice. Now it's not a communication device anymore because it's a random message, but being able to have this act like an auditory dice might be a lot of fun and a really great engagement tool for students. I can set this up so it's a choice maker. In the back of this, I can attach a toy. That's another feature it has, but I can also attach another switch. So let's say I have a student that needs a proximity switch. Maybe my body can't consistently get over here, or it's dangerous for me to be touching something repeatedly. It might hurt my skin or my vascular system. So I need something that's will activate if I just get near it, or maybe I can only move one part of my body. We have a specialist that will be happy to work with you if you need to figure out if your student needs some special switches. I can attach it to this and activate all of the features in here. But if I have a student that can access this and access another switch, now I can do choice making. So one switch meaning one thing, the other switch meaning another. I can also set this up to converse. So if I have two students, one student says a message, the other student says another, and we have a conversation. And the last one is probably my favorite feature. This one has auditory prompting or auditory assisted scanning. So this is one of the strategies that we work on students. If we can get a yes and a no response, or in this situation, move to the next option, move to the next option, that's the option I want. This can be really helpful and powerful. So in this one, I take my one of my other switches, like this one, and I plug it into the back of my smooth talker, and I can listen to my choice. So perhaps we're talking about ice cream flavors: chocolate, vanilla, strawberry, chocolate, vanilla, strawberry. I can listen to my choices as many times as I want. And when I get to the one that I want, when it says strawberry, ooh, I want strawberry, I activate my smooth talker, and then it says strawberry very loud. So if I can get that, if that's a skill that my student can practice and understand, if they get that, we can move on to all sorts of things, all sorts of robust communication and ways to explore computers and all sorts of things. So a really nice option, all built into one device. This one also has a lot of recording time, and the audio is definitely superior. So something to consider, and certainly we have a lot of communication tools in our lending library. And if you want support in figuring out what that is, that AAC consultation request is probably one of your best options. tinyurl.com/PattonsAAC. It's a really nice supportive situation where we wrap up your whole team with support. We sit down and talk about the options. You see what's in our lending library, and then you borrow it and you get free training that comes with it. It saves you a lot of time and money doing it that way. All right, our adaptive utensil holder. We have an adaptive utensil holder. It doesn't come with the spoon, and this one's a child-sized one. So this is a student who might struggle to hold a pencil or a crayon or a toothbrush or a spoon, and that hole gives you the ability to swap out what it is that we're holding. It has that strap over the hand. How much do you think this one's running for? I know we have some OTs in the room, some occupational therapists, so you might know this right off the top of your head. Let's see, $20, $15, $72. Let's go with $20. What do you guys think? More or less? More or less? Ooh, that is expensive. $55.78. Yes, I agree. That is definitely too much for what it is, and we would never suggest. And I would say if you are working with a student who's struggling to, feed themselves and the issue is grasping, definitely working with your occupational therapist and figuring out what types of tools, how can we seat and position and make sure that we have the best supportive tool for this. Certainly this is not the only one out there. This is just one of them, and I don't know of an occupational therapist working in a school that would spend that much on just an adaptive spoon holder. One option out there that's worth considering as you're thinking about all these adaptive holders is something called Instamorph. Instamorph is fairly inexpensive. A bag of it is about $17 for about 12 ounces, and it kind of looks like rice. I'm going to not play this entire video.
Hi everyone, it's Jessica Conrad from the Patents Project, and I wanted to show you one of my favorite tools. It's called Instamorph.
In this, so it has rice, or it looks like rice, and when you add hot water to it, it turns clear, and then you start working it like you would work Play-Doh. So you start molding it. You can cut it with regular scissors. You can put it, there's a bamboo mat in that video, and you can lay it on and it will adhere to that and take on the texture. So if you have a student who is exploring textures, working on pre-braille activities, you can do all sorts of things with that. And slowly, within a few minutes, it starts turning white again, and then it becomes hard. And you can, let's say you are trying to mold this to a student's hand. Within a few seconds, it's pretty comfortable to the touch, so you can mold that instantly and play around with it and figure out what do you need to do to make that comfortable. And let's say that student grows or you made a mistake, just stick it back in the hot water and do it over again. A lot of our schools have access to 3D printers, and I think a lot of cool things are coming out of 3D printers, lots of adaptive materials. However, most of us don't have access to a 3D printer, and most of us don't have 3D printing skills. However, I know that I definitely have Play-Doh skills, and for $17 I can make a ton of adaptive spoon holders or pencil pencil grips. One school district, they had broken a part of this mounting system, and the vendor that it came from, they were going to charge them like $60 for this little piece of plastic. They were able to use Instamorph, a few pennies worth of Instamorph, make that piece and get it stuck back onto that mount for this little girl's wheelchair. And that, I think, is a huge rounding success. All right, we have our last piece, the prize showcase. So I want to know from you folks, how much would a pre-consultation meeting with a patent specialist, plus a visit from that specialist to your school, plus that 6-week loan of shipping and tools, you already know that's $0, so that's easy math right there, 2 hours of phone and Zoom assistance, plus an hour of personalized training for you, your staff, and your family. How much does that cost for an Indiana public school? How much do you... Free! Free, 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 free. Oh, I'm so glad you guys know. Yes, it is an amazing deal. It is an amazing deal. We are so very happy to be able to provide all of that for $0. And how do we continue to make this free for Indiana Public Schools for years to come? The very best thing you can do right now is fill out that evaluation at the end. So I'm going to invite all of you. First off, congratulations. And you have now received your grand prize for participating. Go ahead and award yourself that digital high five. Congratulations, and thank you so much. And what we're going to do now is go over some of the last stuff. Great big applause for everyone. So, patent services. Again, that assistive technology lending library has a ton of options for lots of stuff that you wouldn't even realize are available, but also keeping in mind that our trainings and consultations and virtual office hours to support you in figuring out what do you want to borrow, what do you already have in your classroom that we can help, amplify. Maybe there's a feature that you're looking for. You already have a timer in your classroom. Now you want the timer to vibrate for your student or do something else. We have lots of options and lots of ingenuity for you to use at no cost. Our Access to Education is November 18th and 19th. We would love for you to come. And if you are watching this later on in the year, know that it's the 17th and 18th of 2021. So we would love for you to attend. The Patents Tech Expos in April 2021. Fingers crossed we will still be in Carmel. And if not, we have plans for an alternative situation, and please save the date. This is a wonderful vendor-driven event. So all of those items that you saw from the vendors, this is a great opportunity to have those conversations about your needs and what they can partner and assist and provide you, and seeing the latest and greatest and newest in education and access for your students. So, any questions? I'm going to purposely go on to the next slide, but know that I will stick around for any questions that you have, as well as my contact information. Again, for those of you who are watching the webinar, you know that my Twitter handle is jconradslp, and my email address is jconrad@patentsproject.org. Also, Tuesday nights at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, our hashtag PatentsICAM Twitter chat. Every week we have a different topic, oftentimes early childhood and access and tools and lots of the things that we talked about here in this webinar. Know that we always are so appreciative every time there's a new person. Please come on, join, and even just say hi. We would love to hear from you. So this is Access for All Young Learners Part 3. I'm your facilitator, Jessica Conrad. And when you go, you can either scan, I want to make sure I'm out of the way, scan that QR code or go to tinyurl.com/patentspgp. You will have the opportunity to fill out that evaluation. For those of you who are watching a webinar, this would be an excellent time to pause and then scan. Got to remember those webinar folks. There's a question from Krista, and Krista asks, how do I get just the iPad apps? So you would use the same the same lending library request that you would request a Switch toy or anything else from our lending library, and you would just list the name of the app, and then what I do is in parentheses say I have the iPad, and that lets us know to send you the directions on how to get that iPad, that app. So the same thing, if the family owns the device, you are requesting on behalf of that family for that app to be used by that student, and so you would make that request and we would give you the directions on how to set that up. Great question.